So we just had a PlayStation Showcase the other day, and many of us came into it with high expectations, myself included, but what we got was actually so much worse than I could ever imagine. Now, unlike some of these other reactions I've seen across the internet, I wasn't feeling overly emotional regarding how this showcase went. I think the main issue with this showcase was the pacing, as in the actual order in which the games were shown. Now, I get starting off slow with indies and VR games, but this show just took it to a whole nother level. It's like the show could never find its footing, and as soon as we saw one thing decent, we got a whole bunch of stuff that nobody was asking for. In my opinion, Sony could have cut the indie and VR titles and made this a 30-minute showcase of just the bigger titles. To have this be over an hour with a whole lot of fluff in the middle is crazy. If it wasn't for Spider-Man 2, this showcase would have been abysmal. Nonetheless, let me go through some of the notable things that were shown. If you watched the showcase, then you know all about the filler games, so I'm not even going to go over those. Let me know what games interested you the most in this showcase in the comment section below. So the first game that piqued my interest was Phantom Blade. Now when I first saw this game, the first thing I noticed was the environment and how good it looked. This game looked like Ghost of Tsushima, but you could tell immediately from the gameplay that this was different. The combat is really fast and fluid, like you were just slicing and dicing enemies constantly with little pauses in between. Now I'm unsure about the story, but the combat will definitely be what carries this game, as not only does close range combat look good, but long range looks great as well. The graphics didn't look too bad, nothing groundbreaking, but good enough for me. There seems to be a good amount of enemy variety in this game, as we see different types of enemies that perform a whole slew of attacks, with some wielding special weapons. This game was a surprise, but if we could see a little bit more gameplay, then I might be sold on picking this up. Now this was one of the games I'd mentioned in my predictions video, as there were rumors going around about this game really being a thing. At first, when they showed a whole bunch of ants crawling in the forest, I'd absolutely no clue what this could be. But as soon as Solid Snake rose up out of the water, I knew instantly. As someone who has never played MGS outside of the MGS4 demo, I'm definitely buying this day one. In addition, a master collection for the franchise was announced, which included the original Metal Gear Solid 3 alongside 2 and 1. With the release window of autumn 2023, I may have to start my Metal Gear Solid journey this fall, a lot sooner than I expected. One interesting thing to mention is that it says this collection is volume 1, which makes me believe that there's going to be a volume 2. Maybe the next volume will include MGS4, but who knows. Don't get it twisted, I am extremely hyped for Final Fantasy 16, but I can't believe Sony had the audacity to show this again during the showcase. We have had multiple trailers and an entire state of play dedicated to this game. Square Enix already has my money, and with the release of this game in less than a month, I don't want to see anything else from this. What they should have done is show a small trailer for Final Fantasy VII Remake Part 2, but with FF16 not out yet, I'm not surprised that didn't happen. Regardless, 16 is still looking fantastic, and I will be there day one. We finally got our first real glimpse into Alan Wake 2. This game looked incredible right from the start. The graphics look great, and it seems like Remedy has really knocked it out the park with the horror feeling. As someone who hasn't played the original Alan Wake, I'm gonna have to play that before the sequel releases on October 17th. I don't know if it was just me, but one thing I noticed from the trailer was that it kinda felt like Resident Evil. Now I know that they're two different franchises, but for a minute the game was just giving off that RE feel. It probably was just me. There wasn't too much gameplay shown, but from what we did see, this is a day one cop for me. When they showed Assassin's Creed Mirage, I was like,
oh hell no!
I just couldn't believe Assassin's Creed of all games showed up here. I haven't fully paid attention to this franchise in years, and I think the franchise lost its way once it really started going heavy with the RPG elements. The older games like 2, 3, Revelations are more of the style that I enjoyed, but this trailer really showed that this franchise is going back to its roots. The traversing looked fast and fluid, but nothing over the top, while the combat looked grounded and stealthy. The whole look and feel of this game reminded me of the older games, and that maybe Ubisoft has actually listened to the fans and decided to go back to what made this franchise so popular in the first place. Hopefully this is the last Assassin's Creed that is cross-gen, since this game also releases on PS4 as well. I have to watch this trailer a few more times, but I may end up buying this game when it drops later this year on October 12th. To my surprise, there was actually one indie that caught my eye. As soon as Revenant Hill appeared on the screen, I instantly thought, Nightmare in the Woods 2? I recognized the art style immediately, and even if this proves to be another point and click game, this is one you should check out. If you didn't play Night in the Woods, I'd say give that game a chance, as it's a comfy game that you can just unwind and play at any time. Out of all the indie and VR games that were shown, and there was a lot, this is the only one that I felt worth mentioning. I can't wait to see more footage of this game coming soon. This game single-handedly saved this showcase from being a total disaster. On top of that, this was the very last game that was shown. The wait was well worth it, as the gameplay looked incredible as we saw both Peter and Miles in a set piece involving the lizard. There is more I want to talk about with this game, but I think I'll make a separate video just for Spider-Man 2 alone, as this was by far the highlight of the showcase. It's just a shame that the hype for this show was gone by the time we saw the footage for this game, as it didn't ruin the moment, but if the showcase was at least decent and then it ended with Spider-Man 2, it would have been like the cherry on top. But oh well. If I had to give a score for this showcase, I would give this a 5 out of 10. The only reason it's even that high is because of Spider-Man 2. Honestly, if that game didn't show up, this might have been a 2. For Sony to wait 2 years to have a showcase and then not showing Last of Us Factions 2 or some other anticipated titles is insane. What were your thoughts on this Sony showcase? Did you like what was shown? Did you think it was as bad as I did? Let me know what your rating was for the showcase in the comment section below, and if you enjoyed the video, feel free to drop a like or subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.